What's up, everybody? It's your boy Justin Rodriguez, your favorite lender here at Neighborhood Loans, and we're back with Cafecito Talks, and I am proud to say I am here with Oscar, your next realtor. You just don't know it yet. We are super excited to have this guest present, as he is absolutely amazing what he does. A great story. He has done within the last year 30 units, closed on 30 different families, and not only that, he has closed on millions of dollars of real estate transactions. He owns a couple of properties himself. We're super excited to get this story started, and you have a very interesting one, bro. You know, out of all people, you have joined, not only just going from a corporate world job making six figures, you went from that to going into a whole nother occupation. You don't even know when your next check is. So give me a little insight, man. How did you even get into real estate, and what made you take that big jump?
Yeah, man. I appreciate the invite, man. Yeah. So corporate world, man. I did it for about 6 years. I've always wanted to do real estate since I was like little. So my parents, every time they were thinking about buying a property, I would jump on the computer and like search the house, show it to them like, hey, Dad, look, Mom, it has this, and that. That was very, very detailed. So since then, I noticed that I had a passion for it without even like knowing that it was a thing to do. Right. So I enjoyed it. Just when, like I said, when my parents were looking. And then we have a family friend that's a realtor. And when she would take us out to look at the properties, it caught my attention as well. I'm like, man, this is pretty cool. So I think ever since then, it caught my attention. I'm like, I want to do this. I want to do this for a living. This is pretty dope. Talking to different types of, people, families, helping them out, getting, showing different types of homes. You go from showing a $10,000 home to looking at $1 million home.
Right.
So it's pretty cool, man. So, that's pretty much how I got, what caught my interest is when I was younger, and my family friend that pretty much opened the eyes for me when my parents were looking to buy.
Right. Well, so let me ask you, for all the young people that are out there that are watching this video, I know a lot of dreams is just to make six figures. Right. A lot of people just say, okay, I want to get into this corporate world so I can eventually move up in the branch and make six figures. And you hit that goal. And you were at a certain point where, you had your house, you had your kids, you had, where a lot of people don't want to take risk. And you completely put that aside to take one of the largest risks, which is not knowing when your next check is going to be, So what I want to say is, for the youth out there that don't want to take that risk, what would you tell them to just take that first step and, join the job that they absolutely want to do and love?
Right. So honestly, the way I looked at it, you got to be very, very smart with what you're doing in anything, right? So when I jumped, careers, I made sure I had enough reserves, because that matters. You don't want to be, next month on the street. So I made sure I had enough reserves, and then I'm like, you know what? I think it's time to change. Not only that, COVID happened too, so that was a big factor. Coming from the corporate world, it wasn't like, I just did it out of nowhere. It's because COVID happened. So I'm like, okay, I think it's time to go do what I wanted to do. So I looked at my finances, like, okay, does it make a smart choice to jump into this right now? And at the time it did. So I took that jump. So anyone that's looking to take any type of risk, you just got to be smart about it. You can't just do it. I know a lot of people say, you just do it. You got to take a risk in life. But sometimes you got to make some smart risks. And that's what I call it, a smart risk, because I made sure everything was in order and it made sense for me to make that risk. Because if it didn't, like you said, I'm coming from, a secure check every 2 weeks to, I don't know when I'm going to get my next paycheck.
Right.
So you have to be very smart about, what you're doing, because you don't want to be on the streets, especially if you have kids, if you have a family that you're providing for. You're the breadwinner in your family. You got to make sure that everything's taken care of before you do anything. So that's my one advice I would give people that want to take risks, to young entrepreneurs. If it makes sense, do it. If it doesn't, everything has its time. That's what I would say. But if you're gonna do it, do it.
Right. So let me tell you though, I think everyone has a plan before they do something, right? So if it came down to the point where, like, hey, I'm not getting a check this month, I'm not gonna close any deals, I'm not gonna do anything, what was your backup outside of? And number two, like, how many months of reserves do you see a young entrepreneur that's getting into the business that they should have?
I would say at least 6 months.
6 months?
6 months reserves. I think that's like the rule of thumb. But yeah, 6 months of reserves for sure. Just because, like I said, you just want to make sure that you're good enough, because especially when you're starting off in real estate, it's kind of hard in the beginning because you're prospecting. You don't know. It takes about at least 30 days to close on a transaction. So that's at least a month to get a paycheck. So you want to make sure that at least 6 months, like the first 2 months, you're grinding, you're prospecting, you're getting clients, showing them homes. Some clients are harder than others to find a home. So you just want to make sure that at least you'd be good for 6 months. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then let me ask you though, like if you didn't have a deal and your mortgage is coming up, you got bills, you got car payments, maybe you have credit cards, whatever debts that you might have, what was your end result? Like, hey, if I don't get a deal this month, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z so that way I make sure that my family can eat.
Man, I was doing everything, everything. Door knocking, I do door knocking. Social media, it's big right now. Calling my circle of influence, my sphere, anyone I could come in contact with. Sometimes I'm at dinner and I'm talking to the waitress and I'm talking about real estate, just because you just never know. Right. You just never know who's out there thinking about buying or selling. Mm-hmm. So, if I just met you right now, dude, I'll be talking about real estate. Right. I'll ask you the first question. Hey, by the way, are you a homeowner? Yeah. Have you thought about buying? And then I'll just get into the conversation and give them my business card.
Right.
Yeah. The more people you talk, it's a numbers game at the end of the day. So the more people you talk, the higher chance you're going to get the results.
Right. And I think that the biggest fear for everyone that wants to get into real estate or any form of sales would be the fear of rejection, right? So if you have that fear of rejection, that's something that you're never going to get over off time, right? It takes time to get over that fear. But let me ask you, what was the turning point for you that you were like, hey, I have to get rid of this fear and, do what I got to do?
So to be very honest with you, when I was in the corporate world, I was doing door-to-door sales. Okay. So you have to have some thick skin. Just because it's the same thing, as cold calling or, just talking to random people. You're going to get rejected, and it's okay. Not everyone's going to agree with you. Not everyone's going to say yes. So I think that's pretty much what helped me out to be good where I'm at right now. It's because going door to door, like I said, it's not easy. You get rejected. You get dogs thrown at you. You get people, yelling at you, all sorts of stuff. So that built me who I am right now. So I would never take that away from what I did in the past, because if I wasn't for that, I probably wouldn't be as successful as I am right now.
What's your craziest story as door-to-door?
Man, the craziest story probably, I was walking up to a door and what's it called? The person that came to the door, I guess he was expecting someone there. So he was coming to the door that kind of distracted, not really paying attention who's at the door. It's like, and out of nowhere, he flipped the switch. He was happy, and then out of nowhere he saw and realized that I wasn't the person who he thought I was, and he got super upset for no reason, and he shut the door in my face. I'm like, okay, and I'm walking away from the door because he could close the door in my face, and he took a gun out and he pointed at me through the window, and he was yelling at me to get off his property. So yeah, it could get pretty crazy out there, man. Yeah, it could get pretty crazy out there.
Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Dude. Well, I mean, I think door-to-door sales is probably the hardest form of sales. I don't think there's anything harder than door-to-door sales. And to kind of go into that, how did that create discipline for you?
Man, just being organized with myself. Even though doing door-to-door, it's kind of like real estate. We were running our own business. So the harder we worked, the better results we're going to get. It's kind of like real estate. The more calls you make, the more people you come in contact, the higher chances you're going to get a client. So it's kind of that way. So I've always been, my parents my dad has his own business as well. And I've seen how disciplined he is himself. So I think I picked that up from him. So waking up at a certain time, leaving the house by a certain time, knowing where I'm going, knowing if I'm going to have a meeting or something that's an hour away, I'm going to leave an hour and a half before the meeting starts. So I could give myself that time in case traffic, because things happen on the road that you can't avoid, and give myself just some free time before the meeting starts, use the bathroom, you clean up, do whatever, right. So I think ever since then, that's pretty much what brought me to this point right now in real estate, just being organized, time blocking. Okay, I got this and that. I'm going to respect that, because I'm a big person of respect. I want to be respected, respect others how you want to be respected. Mm-hmm. So if I want to be, respected in that level, well, I need to give it first. You got to lead by example. Mm-hmm. So I think that's why.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Well, I think that's the best thing, that the way that you put it was, especially with your parents kind of being that setting stone and to develop the person that you are, right? So if someone that's watching this right now were to reevaluate their own life, how important do you think a mentor is to kind of mold their whole lifestyle, whether it be their job, whether it be outside their family, their kids? How do you think they should follow a mentor to create their life?
Definitely, I would recommend it just because it's, some people, some people are young, especially if you're like a young entrepreneur like myself, you don't know better. You're out in the wild. So sometimes you do need some guidance, someone to hold your hand, like, hey, this is how you do things. That you pick up the good habits. Because you don't want to see someone else doing something and pick up the bad habits. Because then you start doing the bad habits and not the good ones. It's easier to pick up bad habits than it is to pick up the good habits. So mentorship is really good to have because you'll see, especially if you have a good mentor, because they'll lead you the way and show you what to do and what not to do. You don't want to, especially in this business, it's crazy enough, but probably it's the same as on the lending side. You get sued for anything,
Yeah.
So, and they teach you that when when I took my course, like, don't give opinions. Opinions will get you sued. So, that's why I'm very focused. When I'm at work, I'm focused and I'm making sure I'm doing everything the right way. Because the last thing I need is being sued.
Right.
So yeah, that's a big thing, man.
Right. Yeah. Nobody likes to get sued. Dude.
Yeah.
Nobody want to give up money like that. But I want to kind of go into, obviously, we talked a little bit about mentorship, and now we're going to segue into real estate teams, because I think it's super important when someone's first starting, again, like in any job, any, occupation, especially in sales, mentorship and guidance is super, super important, guys, because if you were to just blindly go into things, you're going to there's landmines on the floor that you don't even know are there, because guess what? You don't have the experience. So you might be like, okay, I'm good. I got this deal closed, but this deal is not going to close because this landmine is right there. Oh, I could avoid that landmine if I did X, Y, and Z.
Right.
So how important is it for you to have the right real estate team? And, I know that you kind of have your own way of doing things. So how has that developed you to the real estate agent that you are right now?
Yeah, when you're starting off, and I told new agents too that are thinking about coming into this real estate, I'm like, make sure you pick a good team, someone that's going to be there to help you out if you ever have any questions. Like you said, because they could be landmines that you want to avoid them, right? So a team that's been in the business for a while, they'll be able to help you and guide you as well, just like a mentor. So that's very important, because one, you got to make sure like the culture is there, right? If someone is hungry as you gotta go work with someone that is hungry as you are, because if you're picking a team that is not, then you're not gonna achieve your own goals, because you're like, well, you're gonna settle, right? So if you're gonna go work for a team that has the same ambition, same goals as you do, you're gonna go far, because you're there to help out each other, to lift each other up. One of my great friends said, I want to be at the top eating alone. I want everyone with me at the top. Mr. FRJ, the greatest.
Yeah.
He said that to me. I want, it'd be lonely to be up there. If I'm the only one doing it and I'm on top eating by myself, it gets boring. So you want to help it. You want to help the others, like that. It's a party up there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's some good advice. And when he told me that, when I interviewed with him, that's what made me want to go work with him. That was because he told me, like, man, this has a vision. And he had the same vision as I did. Like, that makes a lot of sense.
Right.
So that's what made me to go out there. So if you're thinking about joining a team, interview. No, just go with the first one the first team you interview with. Interview with different one, and you'll see the difference that each team, what values and what they can bring to the table for you.
And I think that's super important. I feel like the real estate market in general, not just real estate, but people who are in the industry, we got to be a little bit more like interconnected in a way. I feel like there's enough food on the table for everybody. Right. So I share that dream with Fernando to kind of create instead of having a divide, having that sense of, togetherness, because it is something that, like, it is a lot of competition. That's why I love sales, but at the same time, it should be one of those things that's cohesive, because I don't want to make X amount of money, help X amount of families, and then you're okay, well, Oscar's not going to get none of that business because I want this. It should be a cohesiveness, and I'm a firm believer in a law of attraction. I think if you bring forth positive energy, positive things are going to come to you. So I think you are an amazing position. I love Fernando. I love the things that he built with his team. But what have you learned from him being a leader, not just with real estate, but just real estate investing as well?
Man, investing. So that's something I want to do now. Is want to get a 2-flat.
Okay.
Just because I already have one already. I have one investment property, a single family home, and I'm trying to get more doors just for more passive income.
Okay.
So sitting with him, and he's been in the business for a while, so he's done flips. He has investment properties as well, and I know with him, he said he'll teach me. Like, hey, invest. Flipping a home, it could be kind of rocky. You don't know what you're getting yourself into. But I'll teach you how to do it. He's like, because I've done some really great ones, and I know for a fact you could probably, if I help you and guide you, you could do the same. So I'm looking forward to that. Obviously, soon, hopefully, to get into the flipping business as well, and buying more investment properties as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, then give us a little insight on your investment properties. How many properties do you own, and like where do you want to go on the property side? How many do you want to own?
So right now I own 2 properties, actually 3. I own 3 properties at the moment. Me and my sister bought one where my parents live. We were living there, and then I moved out. I bought a house. So I have another single family home out in Plainfield, and then I have I just bought. It's gonna be 2 years actually, November, when I bought my a single family rental property. Mm-hmm. So I have 3.
Yeah. That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, share your experience. How has that been? How's it been being tenants and everything like that?
You know what? I was a little afraid. I'm not gonna lie, because at the time I was 28, 27. I didn't know any better. I've never thought about being a landlord. It was never in my plans. Yeah. But this opportunity came up, and I ran with it. You know what? It's going great. Obviously, sometimes others it could be worse than others, right? But so far so good. I'll go to the property maybe a handful of times. Throughout the last 2 years, maybe 10 times. So about a handful of times a year. Making sure everything's good, making sure everything's up to date, make sure that my tenant doesn't need any help with anything. But it's been going good so far. Knock on wood.
Knock on wood.
Yeah, knock on wood, man.
Well, how much does it create for you in passive income each month?
So that house, I was fortunate to buy that house cash.
Uh-huh.
So I'm getting about $1,600 a month. A rental.
Mm-hmm. And then after expenses, how much would you say?
So after expenses, I've done the math. It's about $1,450.
$1,450.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a steal. Yeah. And to put numbers on that, that's an additional. I need like 16 grand of income.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's huge. That's a bonus, and that's something that imagine if you were to have 10 single family homes,
right?
And I think a lot of misconceptions is that you have to start off with a multi-unit in order to start your investing career. Which again, that'd be an amazing investment to start in. Is multi-unit buildings are obviously going to allow you to get as many doors quickly as possible, but at the same time, you're a true testament that you don't have to invest in a multi-unit in order to start your investing career, right? You can have a bunch of single family homes and still generate a lot of income. So what is your plan in, let's just say, the next 10 years in terms of your real estate portfolio? How do you want to build it?
I want to have about a good 5 doors.
5 doors?
5 doors. So I got one right now, so I need to get another 4 more doors. Whether it be multi-units or single-family homes. But, yeah, I want to get 4 more.
4 more?
Yeah.
Well, if you had to play it back, right? Let's say you're 21 years old right now. What advice would you give to someone who maybe was doing door-to-door sales, who is a car salesman, who's in whatever company that they're working for, maybe in sales or whatever they're doing, they feel like they're doing well for themselves? What would you give advice to those who are 21 and say, hey, I'm kind of on the edge of buying a property, but I feel like I'm too young. I don't think I'm in the right position. What would you give advice to them?
My advice would be to buy a multi-unit for sure. It's a quicker return over investment in my eyes, just because obviously there's more. You can fit more people in the property. You can rent it out. If you buy a 3-flat or 2-flat or a 4-flat, it's more doors and you have one mortgage compared to you buying a single family home. You have one mortgage, one renter.
Right.
So that's the way I looked at it. So if I were to tell someone like, hey, if someone were to tell me, hey, I'm thinking about it, Oscar. Hey, what do you think? I would tell them, highly recommend to buy a multi-unit investment. Yeah, for sure.
Awesome. Well, what do you think about the youth and taking risk? Do you think that it's better to take risk when you're young or when, the older you get? How does that change the amount of risk that you could take?
I'll probably say take it when you're young, the risk. Because, I'm not that old, but I ain't that young anymore either. Right. I'm like in the middle. If I were to go back, like I said, I would probably get a multi-unit, just because I could live in it, be living for free.
Right.
You know, and then or still cash flowing on top of that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if I could, you know, if you have the money, invest it because you know you don't know, you know what can happen to you at work. You get hurt, you know, and at least you have that investment property that's going to take care of you.
Right.
You know, you have that income coming in.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm gonna go a little bit sidetracked. Like my parents, I was just talking about them about buying a multi-unit, and my mom's like, "Yeah," it's like I agree with you. I was shocked that she agreed with me.
Yeah.
You know, I was always the middle child, always the one that got yelled at. But she agreed with me. She's like, "Yeah, you make a lot of sense, Oscar, because me and your daddy were getting older. You know, what if you know one of us gets hurt and we can't keep working?"
Mm-hmm.
She's like, at least if we have that investment property there, at least we know we have some sort of income there.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, exactly, mom. Like, that's exactly. So, yeah, so hopefully they buy one soon.
That'd be awesome. You
Yeah.
know that, and that's all it really takes is just kind of inside education for them
Right.
to really see that vision. Because if they didn't have that, you know, that plan, they're gonna continue to live in life because they never see the vision.
Right.
So sometimes all people need is just to see that vision and have the right guidance in order to get them over the hump.
Right.
You know. So I mean, I want to really, you know, dive back into just the youth portion of it because I think there are a lot of people that are kind of scared to jump into the investing world. And, you know, for you, okay, 3 properties, how realistic do you think it is for you to own the 5 properties within the 5 years? And if you think about it, someone who's 23, you know, in 5 years, they could have 5 properties before they're 30. What would their net worth be? Over $1 million at the time and appreciation value. So what do you think a real expectation would be for a 10-year plan of buying properties?
For myself or for
anybody that's looking to
in a 10-year span, I feel like you should be able to get at least 2 to 3 properties.
Okay.
With that being said, if you get a multi-unit, that could be 4 to 6 doors.
Right.
You know, it's possible. You know, obviously, if you put your mind to it and you have the money working on its own, you know, real estate works. It's crazy the way it's. Before I really got into it, like I was always into real estate, but now that I'm in it, it's crazy how there's a lot of rich people in the world just based on just owning property.
Yeah.
So it's crazy because let's say you have one investment property and it's cash flowing. You could use that income to be able to qualify to buy another one. Or you could do the BRRRR. If you know, I don't know if people understand what the BRRRR is. You could Google it and look into it. But you know, refinance, take the money out, buy another one, and do this and do the same process again. So, you know, within a 10-year span, I say you should be able to get 2 or 3 properties for sure.
Yeah, I love the one thing I love about you know, I love to study people who are better than me, right? And I hear that the one quote that I love is you never want to be in a room of people who are the same level as you. You want to be in a room with people who are smarter than you because then you're never going to grow if you're not around those who are better than you, right? So I love that fact of just being around people and surrounding myself with people like you who have a couple properties under their belt, who are, you know, kind of just taking that jump and risk with the family, with the kids. I love surrounding myself with people like that. But one of the best quotes that I've ever heard is from Grant Cardone. And the one thing he did say was, you want to have your money working for you, right? Because when you leave your money in the bank,
Right.
the bank is making a profit off your money, right? They're just churning your money, turning and burning. So the money in your bank account, a safe nest is always a necessity, right? Having 6 months reserve should always be a necessity. But at some point, you have to make your money work for you, right? So if you're sitting back at home on the first of the month and now you get 3 checks for $1,000, these are $3,000 that, you know, maybe you had to have someone do maintenance on a property. Maybe you had to do something like that may cause a little bit extra work, but that's $3,000. You know, that's something that you didn't have before.
Yeah.
So, you know, I think allowing your money to work for you is just super, super important. And just investing in your future is super important. But if you had to choose between, you know, buying these investment properties or flipping a property, which avenue do you see yourself going forth more?
I'm always a long-term person.
Yeah.
That's the way I've always been. I haven't been like the quick and easy. I've always been like, even when I bought my vehicles, I always thought, okay, the long term.
Right.
I see myself more of rentals, keeping them, holding them. Just because, like I said before, you just don't know where you're going to be yourself at. And, you know, like for example, myself, I have kids. That could be my kids, you know, college, you know, tuition, you know? So always thinking about long term. I see myself getting more rentals. And like you said, I'd rather have my money in the real estate market or appreciation, right? Compared to the bank where you might get 7-10 cents, if that, depending how much you have in the bank, right?
Right.
So that's pretty much what made me want to go into when I saw the opportunity, I'm like, 7 cents for my money just to be sitting in the bank a month, or I invest. Yeah, I'm taking that risk, but I'm getting $1,600 a month.
Yeah.
So it's like a little piggy bank that you just don't. It's not, you don't see it on your phone when you go on the app, but it's a piggy bank. It's there. It's land.
Right.
It's real estate. It's real property. So that's one of the reasons why I did it. I'm like, okay, this is like a no-brainer. $1,600, 10 cents.
Yeah.
It's the way you gotta look at it, in my eyes.
No, 100%. But I love that story, bro. And give me more on that, because there's a lot of people with families out there, right? College is expensive.
Right.
Like it's stupid how expensive college is now. But that's a great plan, bro. Like, how would you plan that out for someone that's kind of on the edge about it? Like, is it a retirement fund? I didn't know real estate could be a form of retirement fund and college fund for your kids. Would you rather have a bank account where you're putting a couple grand a month or $1,000 a month for your kids' college fund? Or would you rather just say, hey, I'm putting 20% down on this property. I'm going to purchase this property, let it cash flow. And then whenever they're ready for college, sell it. And here you go. Here's your money for college.
Right. So, yeah, like, I would rather do the, buying real estate and let it cash flow and then appreciation. And then, in years from now, like, for example, my kids are young. They're 4 and 2. If I hold it until by the time they're 18, talking about 14 years from now, the property that I bought, what if by then, in 14 years, let's say I have like $200-300 in appreciation, so I'll sell it. It's a check, and my kid goes to school for free at that point,
Right.
And so I have some money left over to do whatever he wants,
Right.
If he starts his family, whatever, X amount, or retirement money for myself at that point, whatever the case is. But I'm always thinking about long-term goals. What is it that you want? What is this? What are the results long-term?
So how do you feel about your kids getting into real estate? Do you want them to follow your footsteps?
Yeah, man. I want them to appreciate the grind. I'm always a big believer in that, and I always get some lashback from like my own family sometimes. Like, stop being so hard on your kids. And like, no, like, if my parents were hard on me, it was for a reason. It was to teach me a lesson. I don't want to make my kids' life easier, even though I would want to, right? But at the same time, I want to teach them, the grind, the grit and grind, how it really is, because it teaches a lot of lessons. Not only is it just to be an ego thing, like, I did it, because that's kind of, I have a small little ego,
Yeah.
but it teaches them a lot of lessons throughout the way. And I think that's the biggest factor. There's a lot of life lessons in the grit and grind. I don't know if I would want them in the real estate world, like how I'm doing it, but I want them to learn what could be done in real estate, and so they could learn it themselves, and they could keep providing that to their kids and their grandkids, for generations. Because land, you can't create any more land. So the land that we have now, it's there, and you got to take advantage of it and invest in it.
So you don't want your kids to be an agent or in this industry?
I don't know, man. It's gonna sound kind of sexist, but like my son, I would want him to do it because I can see it in him. He's like me. He's sociable. He's outgoing.
Yeah.
I can see he's gonna have the grind in him. He doesn't give up when he's playing with the toy and he can't put something in. He will keep playing with that toy until he gets it in where it needs to be in. My daughter, obviously that's my little princess, right? I wouldn't want her to go through the whole process of like the grind, right? Because she's a daddy's girl, I gotta protect my little girl. But I mean, maybe a different part of real estate, like property management, that'd be good, something good. But if she wants to do real estate, I'm gonna support her. Yeah. I'm always gonna support my kids in whatever they want to do. If they want to be a real estate agent like myself, I'll be there to support them and show them the ropes and grind it out with them.
Would you want them to be a part of your own real estate team at one point?
Yeah, for sure. Take them under my wing, and like I said, show them the ropes, guide them, mentor them, show them the do's, the do nots. But yeah, I would love that. Maybe build our own little Toledo empire or something. Have a company called, your next realtor.
Yeah. Well, give me how did that start up, man? How did you get that slogan?
That slogan?
Yeah.
You know what? It just came to my mind one day because I wasn't with the FRJ group yet, but I will always see their content because I have friends that are part in that team. And then you came along, and I met you as well throughout the way. And you have your favorite lender. Carlos is, I think, your favorite real estate broker, I believe it is.
Yeah.
So I'm like, man, and I always hear people saying almost the same thing, nothing different.
Yeah.
So I'm like, man, I'm Oscar. I want to be something different.
Yeah.
And I've always been like that. I want to be different. I always like to be the purple cow.
Yeah.
So one day I was sitting in my office. I was probably searching houses for a client or something. And I don't know why it came to my head. I'm like, your next realtor, you just don't know it yet. And I kept saying it in my head. And then I made a video. As soon as I'm like, I'm going to try this out. I made a video. I went on Instagram, made a story. And I'm like, what's up, everyone? It's Oscar, your next realtor. You just don't know it yet. And it just flowed.
Yeah.
It just flowed. And when I really liked it and it kept it going is when I went to networking events and someone came up to me, hey, you're that guy that your next realtor, you just don't know it. I love that, man. I love it. So I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna keep it going. Why stop? If people are watching it and they like it and it's catchy, people are gonna remember you for something. And I want to be, I don't want to die and not be known, right?
Right.
So I want to be known. So that's why I kept it going.
Yeah. No, honestly, I think that's super important. I think having your own name, your brand, is just super important. That's the hardest part is taking the negativity with it too, because you're gonna have those guys that are like your next realtor,
right?
It's corny, but it's cool that you stuck through it because honestly, it's cool. Like I'll forever remember you like that. Like whenever I hear, if anybody says, "Hey, I'm your next realtor," I think of you, right? So It's funny to kind of put the name in the face, but I think you brought something up that's super important that a lot of people need to hear about, and that's social media and recognizing you before you even met that person. Like, hey, you're the guy that says you're the next realtor, and like, oh, I love that. They knew you before you even met them.
Right.
So like, how important is social media for you and your business?
It's very important, just because everyone's on social media, especially like the millennials, the Gen Z, just everyone, even the baby boomers are still on social media now, on Facebook and stuff. It's very important because you don't know who you're gonna touch. Just being out there and being consistent, I think is the key. Because you can be on social media, but if you don't take advantage of it, it's like not having it at the same time. So like posting every day, maybe a couple times a day, it's very important. Especially for my business. I've gotten a couple clients through social media just because I posted up a house tour.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's how I would not stop doing it.
Right.
Just because of that same reason. Because just being in front of people's eyes is very important.
Yeah, honestly, we closed somebody on social media. It was a great couple, great clients, and I think whenever you're on social media, again, I think your greatest asset is going to be yourself. So why should someone choose you as the realtor? Like, what is your greatest asset?
I'm always there for the client first. I'm there to hold their hand throughout the whole process. Buying a home can be, obviously, if you've never bought a home before, it can be kind of scary sometimes. Because you don't know what to expect or how to do it or what to do. So I'm there guiding you from the beginning, from the first time you send me a message, from then till the day or even after we close, I'm still going to be there. I'm never going to go away. I'm always a phone call. Even after the closing, if you have any questions, you need a painter, a carpenter, or a landscaper, I'm there. I'm there to help you out for anything. It's not. I'm not just a transaction real estate agent. I'm gonna be, I'm gonna be your realtor forever.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be your friend. I want to be your family. I want to be your family member.
Yeah.
I want to be invited to the carne asadas. I'll stop by with a bottle of Bucanas or something.
There you go, dude. Some pozole y todo,
Yep,
bro.
pozole, man. What's crazy, man? I had a client. They were so happy with my service, and I made them feel like family. That after the closing, like, Oscar, what you got going off this afternoon? I mean, kid you not, it was already like 5 o'clock because the closing was at 3. Like, nothing. I'm like, I'm pretty much going to go home now. I'm like, okay. And like, you know what? Meet us back at the property. Okay, sure. I'm not going to ask why,
Right.
Maybe they wanted to go just go check it out one more time or something. So we went back to the property and they started taking things out out of their car. And then I'm like, what's going on? And then he's like, I made you some mole. Some mole and un tamal de frijoles.
Ooh.
Yeah, because they were from Guerrero, Mexico.
Yeah.
So like, we appreciate you. We're gonna recommend you to all our family members, friends. You did an amazing job. You were always there. To ask any questions. We just want to show you, how much we appreciated you. So we made you this mole. That was the wife's specialty. It was the mole.
Yeah.
The Guerrero mole with the tamal de frijol. It was fire. I'm not gonna lie to you. It was fire.
Bro. That sounds so good, bro.
My family's from Durango and Michoacan.
Yeah.
So coming from like, what is this stuff? Like,
Yeah.
tamal de frijol. It was fire. It was fire. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Yeah.
So it just shows you, that I make you feel like family. That that you're comfortable forever.
Right. Right.
And I think that's the biggest thing. That's why I feel like someone would if you're looking for a realtor or or just some guidance regarding real estate. Just hit me up, send me a message. Don't be shy. I'm not gonna bite back or anything like that. I'm a friend. You never know. We could be best buds by the end of the transaction. You just never know, right?
Yeah.
If you ever have any questions, just send me a message, give me a call. I'm always there to help out in any way, even if it's a simple question. I have people asking me questions, all types of questions regarding real estate, whether buying or even getting into the industry as well. I'm just an open book.
Right.
Yeah.
I always tell people like the biggest asset that you're gonna have within just a real estate group in general is just yourself. Like, and we always have accountability on Monday, so we try and hold each other accountable because obviously in this industry you choose your own hours, so it's super easy for yourself to be like, okay, this day, tomorrow I'm gonna go harder than today, so I'm gonna take it a little easy today, and then tomorrow I'll go crazy, But it's hard to hold yourself accountable, and I actually know people that actually pay money for people to hold them accountable.
Yeah.
So it just shows you the value in accountability. But, we try and do it every Monday with him and Oscar and his team. We come together and trying to hold each other accountable. But one of the topics that we were talking about today was, yourself being the brand that you are. People want to work with you because you are who you are. You're either personable or you're not, or whatever your personality might be, someone's going to gravitate towards you because honestly, that's your personality. So
Right.
It doesn't really matter the company that you're with. It's just like, hey, that guy sounds like pretty cool. He sounds like he knows what he's talking about. And I want to move forward with a real estate transaction just because they gave me the right guidance. So, I want people to kind of really see who Oscar is, and it's pretty cool to be able to, connect the dots and have someone, make you some mole.
Yeah, man.
With some tamales de frijoles. It's cool to see that and, have that family atmosphere. But out of all the real estate transactions, is that the most memorable moment, or do you have any other?
It's probably the most recent one I can remember on top of my head, just because it was not that long ago. And I think of all my clients, I think that's the only one that has cooked for me,
Yeah.
So it's kind of hard to, like, it has to be, like, on top of my mind just because of that, Like, I have all my clients, I love them. We all have, like, different types of amazing memories, right? But this one was just because they went out of their way to cook, not, no other client has done that. So that was something that I'm gonna take to the grave for sure.
Well, then let me ask you, we got the best experience. What's your worst experience in real estate?
Worst experience in real estate? I would have to say we're under contract with this client, and I didn't know that this client was on medical leave. So I'm like here waiting to get the clear to close. I'm like excited, right? I'm like, and then my transaction coordinator, she's like, hey, we're not getting no clear to close soon. I'm like, why? And then she's like, do you not know that your client's on leave of absence? I'm like, what? So I would have to say that's probably the worst one, because I was like all excited, waiting for the clear to close. Right. And then it just, you can't avoid, injuries, right, at work. Yeah. So it just happened to be that my client got injured at work and had to take a leave of absence because of medical reasons. So I would have to say as of yet, it's probably one of, like, the worst ones. Yeah.
Right. And so for all the people that want to get into real estate that don't know where to take the hump, give them some insight. What are the pros and cons of joining the whole real estate, whatever market you might, lender, insurance, agent? What do you think the pros and cons to whatever industry you want to go into?
I believe the pros is, like, obviously, like, you're your own boss, right? You work your own schedule. You do whatever you want, I'll probably be one of the biggest pros. One of the cons is obviously is that entrepreneurship, you don't know when you're gonna get paid. That's probably one of the obviously when you become a top producer and you see it, you're consistently having these closings 3, 4 every single month, then you don't have to worry about a check. But there could be I'm pretty sure there's top producers out there that have to have at least 1 month where they don't have a closing, and that's probably like a scary moment for them. Like, oh, damn, like
Time to go to work.
When's my next closing? That's probably one of the biggest cons I would have to say is that, you don't know when, you're going to get paid.
Yeah.
I would have to say. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, real estate, the real estate industry, like you said, like insurance, lender, real estate broker, I would have to say the pros. I mean, there's a lot of pros, I could go into, but one of them is being your own boss. That's pretty dope.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty dope.
Well, that's awesome, man. And again, guys, I want to first thank you so much for coming today, Oscar. Your story enlightened me, dude. When I heard that he went from going from 6 figures, door knocking, doing all this stuff to, going to where he doesn't even know where his next check is going to come from, he actually enlightened me and told myself to work harder because he's absolutely killing it in his real estate field. And 30 units in a year is not easy. 30 families all getting into their own separate house. So kudos to you. Shout out to you for doing all the things that you're doing. I wish you nothing but the best. Thank you, again, guys, thank you so much for watching today's episode. If you haven't already, like, subscribe on this video, and if you guys want any more content, please let me know. But again, thank you guys for watching. Take care.